Hello everyone and welcome to Thermal Control Magazine's interactive session on cooling tower business and application prospects. Cooling towers are an inherent part of the power plant steam cycle. Their application is of essence in power plants, especially in the thermoelectric power plants to eliminate extra heat from the plant. Industries like manufacturing, growing demand for HVACR systems in air conditioning, cold storage, renewable energy, power plants, and others are increasingly adopting cooling towers. Cooling tower market size exceeded $2 million in 2021 and is projected to grow at a CAGR of over 5% from 2021 to 2028. An increase in industrial and manufacturing activities, along with the expansion of chemical, automotive, oil and gas, petrochemical, and fertilizer industries, will complement the market growth. Growth for cooling towers would unlock growth prospects due to the increasing construction activities in developing nations. Rapid industrial growth across developing economies, increasing demand of cooling towers in the commercial buildings, and utilization of cogeneration technologies will boost the market expansion and business growth. On this note, today we have come together to witness an engaging interactive session on cooling tower business and application prospects. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished speakers, Mr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, Country General Manager, India, DB Air India Private Limited, and Mr. Ravi Prakash, Manager, Delta Cooling Tower Private Limited.
So, Mr. Dipankar, you were conversing about the design intervention for cooling towers and the minimizing losses. And you also mentioned about the chillers. How do chillers and cooling towers, when they work together, what are the benefits?
See, chillers and cooling towers, they need to work together because if you do not have, the cooling tower outlet water or the condenser water entering, water that is entering the chiller and taking away the heat that is being rejected, the chillers would simply cease to operate. Okay. So they have to work in tandem. And here, cooling tower is more of a facilitator for a chiller to perform in its optimum. So the benefits, of course, it's kind of a relationship which is kind of interdependent. And the benefits is that when you want to operate chiller at its maximum efficiency, you also need a cooling tower to support that. Because if a cooling tower is inefficient, if the heat rejection is not proper, if the scale formation happening, if the losses are high, then obviously the plant room will not deliver the best efficiency. And there's always a cascading effect of all these losses that I just mentioned. So overall, they might be small in quantity, and when you measure them individually, they might be very small losses. But the cumulative effect of that is huge, and that could be to the extent of even 30 to 40%. So your chiller operating efficiently versus not operating efficiently, the difference could be to the tune of 30%, 40%, and sometimes even more. I mean, that's been the revelation in the industry, that how important it is to have both the plant room equipment, chiller and cooling tower work in tandem and work also efficiently. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Dipankar, for sharing the benefits about the chillers and coolers working together. Now, my another question to you is, there is an increasing demand of the cooling tower in the commercial, residential, and public places. And they call for the energy efficient applications. How is the cooling tower industry responding to the market trends?
So I have my industry colleague, Mr. Ravi Prakash. I think he was probably in a better position to answer that. But when you look at the industry, you have a variety of options available with you. You have absolutely top-notch brands who are offering absolutely top-class cooling towers with low approach, low losses, with lower maintenance requirement, and you have a lot of run-of-the-mill product also. So I think this industry, a particular industry which manufactures cooling towers, they have also come a long way in improving their design, delivering the best-in-class products to suit the requirement. So I think everything that I spoke about in terms of design interventions, today they are available in the market. It's just that some customers don't opt for high-end cooling towers because probably the cost involvement, initial cost, the upfront cost involvement is pretty high as compared to some of the ordinary cooling towers that are available. So they avoid that, they try and save on the capex, but what they don't realize is, they will be paying a lot throughout its lifetime. Let's say if you take the life of the plant for 15 years, whatever money they'll be paying through, is going to be pretty high as compared to the nominal capex, the incremental capex that will be paying upfront while procuring a high efficiency equipment. So yes, to answer your question, I think the options that I mentioned are pretty much available with multiple brands, and if customer is willing, they can invest on a high efficiency cooling tower. But unfortunate thing is, in India, most of the buying that happens on this space is basically a value buying. So you meet certain efficiency, certain criteria, and you can make the same. That should not be the thing. I think we should probably take more a life cycle approach rather than value buying or first cost buying no way of looking at things.
I want to ask one question to Mr. Dipankar. Which are the industries you find cooling towers are best and viable option today?
I would not talk about many industries because I probably don't know about them, but I think when it comes to HVAC as an industry, it has come of age. And when you look at some of the institutional clients, some of the captive users of the, let's say, the Infosys and Wipros of the world, or the hospitality industry, who are the beneficiary, direct beneficiary. So, they buy a high efficiency equipment, they get the benefit of the high efficiency throughout its life, and they get the benefit of the life cycle cost. These industries have adapted the right kind of equipment, and they always, their buying criteria is always on life cycle cost and not on first. A cooling tower, a right quality cooling tower, which delivers high efficiency, could be 2 times, 3 times the cost of normal cooling tower. That's what my understanding is. But still, they're investing on those because they look at it as an investment which will save them on their operating cost, and eventually, that additional savings is going to come to them. So, again, to answer the question, the industries who are captive users, the direct beneficiary, they have adapted cooling towers, not only cooling towers, all the equipment that they use. And there's definitely this life cycle cost consideration before taking any buying decision.
Yes, Mr. Ravi. So my question was, can you suggest what's the minimum budget required to go for installing cooling towers?
You need a cooling tower. First of all, what the two parameters are essential to design a cooling tower. First is the flow of the water flow rate, required water flow rate for your system, and other is the temperature variation. See, we start from 5 tiers. We start the manufacturing cooling towers from 5 tiers, and that goes on to any amount of tier whatsoever required. See, we are manufacturing 5 tiers to 3,000 tiers cooling towers at present, but we have supplied more than 10,000, 12,000 tier also to various customers. The budget for the cooling towers, that depends on the flow of the water, as Mr. Dipankar said. That was it.
Mr. Ravi, if a limited capacity of cooling tower is there, especially in the summer months, So, can you detail about what trends are there for the cooling tower rental market growing in the future?
Cooling towers on rental basis, it's a very difficult thing to be given to anybody. If you want to purchase a cooling tower or to use a cooling tower, either you have to buy a cooling tower or you want that on rent. But once you install a cooling tower and you run for a couple of days, the problem is that cooling towers in India, or I have never felt anybody asking for a second-hand cooling tower. So once you want a cooling tower, you have to purchase that. And if you want on rent, what I will do, I'll
want to purchase a cooling tower, it has to be purchased.
My next question is to Mr. Dipankar. Is global HVAC industry, how much market share is captured by cooling tower? Also, which region or country has more demand for cooling tower?
So my guesstimate would be, it should be about 10% of the global HVAC revenue that should be for cooling, allocated to cooling tower. Maybe Mr. Ravi can correct me if I'm wrong. That's my guesstimate. I would not be knowing exact details because I look at this industry from a distance. So I would think that should be around. So if you're, let's say, looking at $2 billion market for cooling tower, then the overall HVAC market should be around maybe $20 billion.
In global HVAC industry, how much market share is captured by cooling tower? Also, which region or country has more demand for cooling tower?
Ma'am, if we talk about the cooling tower supplies, as I told you earlier, 50% of this production is being used for HVAC. About the country, what you told, I will tell India is one of the best. What we have, the maximum what we are using, we are supplying to maximum what we are supplying to India, ma'am. Since Dubai and that Kuwait area, they only take cooling tower for process cooling, not for HVAC. Very rare they use that, but India is a big market for HVAC thing. And 50%, more than 50% is being supplied to HVAC.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. So means it's in the expansion mode in the UAE, you mean to say?
Yes.
So now my next question is, how effective is cooling tower water filtration system in enhancing the performance?
See, if you install a cooling tower, the primary thing, what we advise to the customer is to take care of your water quality. So filtration, as you told, filtration part, we are just bothered about the scale. That is the major thing that is affecting the cooling efficiency of the water, of the cooling tower. See, the primary thing is when scale is being accumulated in the cooling tower, the filling area, that is the heat exchanger media, what you tell the PVC fills, if that is blocked or the blockage starts, the efficiency of the cooling tower goes on reducing day by day. If you save that scale, you're saving the quality of the water. And if you're saving the quality of water, you're saving the life of the cooling tower and the efficiency of the cooling tower also.
Thank you, Mr. You were speaking about the cooling tower with CTI certifications and FRP yes. Cooling towers with latest technologies.
Yes.
And supplying to everywhere. And you also were talking about the non-chemical water devices quality of water is the issue. In cooling tower, generally it is seen in instances of corrosion is evident. To enhance the corrosion resistance and protection from chemicals, what innovations are there or the new technologies have been developed for towers, especially with the fields and water basin?
The major problem what customers are facing who are using cooling towers, the major problem is scale. And if you want to reduce that problem, or in fact remove that problem, you will have to go for any dosing proper thing which can remove scale or it can save from scale. So some things are there, like some people they do chemical dosing. Some of them use DM plant. Some of them use RO plant. And what we are manufacturing is non-chemical water treatment device. If you go for any other things, like if you're chemically dosing, you will have to use manpower, and along with that, a monetary amount each month or after every 15 days, you have to go for that chemical dosing. The same is the problem with RO, and the same is the problem with the DM water. But if you go with a non-chemical water treatment device, it's a one-time expense, and you can just fit and forget it. So what we feel is the best thing, the complete headache is being removed after fitting this.
Mr. Ravi, for that. We had a very interactive session, and I would request Mr. Dipankar, can you give a closing statement for the session?
Yeah, so my closing statement will be something which is related to the performance of the cooling tower on a sustainable basis. So I think what we need to do, we have to adapt certain practices, recent practices, which can ensure that the cooling tower delivers the, in line with the promise that it was made, or while designing, probably have had certain design considerations. So how do you ensure that the cooling tower is also delivering the performance that was there on the paper? So our most important criteria is measurement and verification, and when you commission a plant, you need to have proper measurement and verification process in place to ensure that the cooling tower is delivering in line with the design consideration. That is one. And second thing, there has to be periodical audits, not only for the cooling tower, but for the entire plant, and just to check whether it is performing at its optimal level, whether all the parameters that are there in the design is meeting, and what is it that is lacking, and how probably somebody can intervene and ensure that it comes back on to its optimal capacity, or the design capacity. Because these things are considered, are treated in a way that when you install something and you forget about it. Proper maintenance, periodical audits are extremely important to get the best out of your cooling tower and your plant room. And we should institute a process to ensure that there are proper audits being carried out, and then accordingly interventions are being done to ensure that these components operate optimally. So that will be my conclusion.
Panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's topic, cooling tower business and application prospects. We hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Dipankar and Mr. Ravi. I would also like to thank Mr. Gopal Anand for taking this initiative. We would like our delegates and viewers to stay connected with us on our social media handles. Thermal Control Magazine is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Additionally, you can also download our app from Google Play and App Store. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. Request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.